Waitress exposes billionaire's harassment. Father's amazing helicopter gift changes everything. In the heart of America, where the sun rose over fields of corn and the sound of laughter from a bustling diner echoed through the small town, Emma stood behind the counter with a determined glint in her eyes. The grease-slicked grill was her stage, and she was the star. Every coffee she poured and slice of pie she served embodied a spirit that had, for generations, knit their community together. Despite the financial burdens she and her retired veteran father faced, Emma wore her dedication like a shield, smiling through each shift, her heart swelling with pride for the values he instilled in her: integrity, humility, and compassion. But one busy Wednesday morning, as she navigated the clattering of dishes and the murmurs of patrons, a familiar charm turned sour. The wealthy regular, Mr. Hawthorne, always draped in designer suits and layered in arrogance, leaned too close, his voice a low whisper that twisted her stomach. "You know, Emma, there's a place for someone like you in my world," he said, his grin chilling her to the bone. Her righteous anger ignited. She felt the weight of every woman's story she'd ever heard bubble up inside her. "No, there isn't," she retorted, her voice steady but shaking with fury. The diner fell silent, a hush washing over the patrons as they turned toward her. She called him out right then and there, not just for herself, but for every server who had ever faced unwanted advances. The moment crackled with electric intensity. Was this really happening? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Suddenly thrust into the spotlight, Emma became a local hero, the embodiment of courage that sparked conversations on integrity and inequality. Social media erupted. Supporters rallied, but voices of dissent rose too. Her neighbors conflicted. It was tough to see the man they admired so much, a billionaire, dropped into scandal. Even her own father felt the weight of the situation, his pride clashing with concern. Yet, he decided to surprise Emma with a gift, something she'd never expected: a bright yellow helicopter, an old beauty he once flew during his service. It wasn't just metal and machinery. It was freedom and a symbol of dreams, a bond shared between father and daughter. Emma's heart raced at the sight of it, her own worries momentarily forgotten, as she hugged him tight. But as the media frenzy grew louder, the cracks in the community deepened. Emma braced herself, knowing something had to change. The tension boiled over during a town hall meeting where emotions clashed like thunder. Standing before the crowd, with Mr. Hawthorne's smug grin glowering at her from the front row, Emma felt a fire ignite. Her voice wavered but filled the room, challenging the notion that power equated to respect. "We're all human. We deserve to be treated with respect," she cried. As she spoke, the atmosphere thickened, swirling with doubt and tension, leaving many wondering. Can one brave act truly change societal perceptions, or will the powerful always reign supreme? The air hung heavy with anticipation, Emma's heart pounding, ready to make a statement that could alter her life forever. What would she choose, becoming a hero or risking it all for the truth? Emma stood at the podium, her heart thundering in her chest. The room was packed, the faces of her neighbors blurred into a sea of emotion: curiosity, anger, unease. Mr. Hawthorne perched in the front row, arms crossed, wearing a mocking smile. He thought he could brush this off, but she felt the weight of every person in this room. "Is this what we've become?" she asked, her voice rising above the murmurs. "A community where power silences the truth?" She watched the crowd shift, some nodding in agreement while others scowled, uncomfortable with the spotlight she had thrust upon them. "No one is untouchable in this fight," Emma continued, her determination palpable. "Not him. Not anyone." Her words were like sparks, igniting conversations that were once quietly dismissed. As she looked across the crowd, she spotted old Mrs. Jenkins, who had served coffee alongside her mother for decades. The elderly woman gave a small smile, and in that moment, Emma found her strength. She wasn't just fighting for herself. She was fighting for everyone, every woman who felt silenced, every person who suffered unfairly. The tension in the room swelled, and then a voice came from the back. But what about the consequences, Emma? It was Danny, her childhood friend. He always stood up for what was right, but experienced the town as confrontations with caution. What will this mean for your father, your work? His question hung in the air like a storm cloud, and uncertainty skated down her spine. Would this expose her family to damage? Was her father's already thin reputation worth the fight she waged? I can't back down, not now, she replied, trying to quell the shake in her voice. If we let fear dictate our actions, what will become of us? Is that the legacy we want to pass on? A hushed murmur rippled through the room, and for a moment, she could see doubt wavering in Mr. Hawthorne's eyes. This wasn't just an affront to his ego. It was a challenge to the hold he had on their community. Your father, he interjected, voice dripping with condescension. He might just lose everything for this. Emma felt a knot twist in her stomach. She had thought of her father, his sacrifices, his pride. But as she gazed at the faces around her, anger surged. My father has already sacrificed so much for this town. Her voice thundered, silencing any retort from Mr. Hawthorne. He taught me to stand up for what's right, no matter the cost. Cheers erupted from the crowd, interrupting Mr. Hawthorne's comeback. The sausage-legged tables wobbled as patrons clapped in unison, their collective support wrapping around Emma like a warm blanket. Feeling lightheaded with the swell of hope, Emma took a deep breath, her heart pounding louder than ever. She could feel what was happening here, tension shifting, opinions swaying. But what if it didn't hold? What if this bravery led to nothing but more pain for those she loved? As the applause faded, an undeniable truth settled in. She was crossing a threshold that couldn't be unraveled. In that moment, she realized she wasn't just fighting Hawthorne. She was fighting for herself, for her future, and for every person who grappled with the same fears. Outside, storm clouds gathered ominously, mirroring the stirrings within. Would she be brave enough to face not only him, but the storm brewing inside her heart? The familiar hum of voices around her faded into the background. Emma's path lay ahead, dark and uncertain. But within that uncertainty, a flicker of resolve ignited. As the crowd waited, breaths held in collective anticipation, one question hung in the air. Would Emma dive deeper into this fight, risking everything for change? Would she take the next step to expose truths that could shatter her world forever? Emma's pulse quickened as she stood there, the echo of applause still ringing in her ears. It felt surreal, as if she leaped into a scene from a movie. But this was her life, and the stakes were all too real. The crowd had rallied behind her, but she couldn't shake the foreboding sensation that hung like a storm cloud. She stepped back from the podium, retrieving her notes, but her hands trembled. Her mind raced, focusing not just on the cheers, but on what they meant. Could she genuinely lead this movement? Would anyone help her? Her heart sank at the thought of facing Hawthorne and the fallout waiting for her at home. As she turned to the side, she bumped into Danny again, his expression a mix of admiration and concern. You did great, Em, he said, but his voice lowered as if to guard a secret. But are you ready for what comes next? Do I have a choice? She replied, trying to sound brave even as doubt plagued her. If I don't fight now, the words faded, unable to articulate the fear of what silence would mean. I'll be with you, he promised, his eyes firm. Just let us think this through. We need a plan. Nodding, Emma scanned the crowd. Some faces looked inspired, others bewildered. Mrs. Jenkins approached, tears brimming. Child, you've ignited a flame in this town that's been smoldering for too long. Just remember, flames can burn too. The weight of those words settled on Emma like a heavy cloak. She drew strength from them, but couldn't shake off the worry gnawing at her heart. Thank you, Mrs. Jenkins, she whispered, feeling the warmth of gratitude bloom inside. They exchanged a moment of understanding, and in it, Emma knew this fight was bigger than herself. Outside, the storm had fully rolled in. Heavy rain cascaded down, mirroring her tumultuous thoughts. The streets shimmered with puddles, reflecting the gray sky. Emma took a deep breath, taking in the earthy scent of rain-soaked asphalt. Should we go? Danny suggested, breaking through her reverie. Yeah, I guess we should, she replied, her voice steadier. As they stepped into the downpour, water splashed against their shoes, and they hurried to Danny's car parked a block away. The world blurred by in sheets of rain. Inside, the cabin was warm and smelled faintly of the cologne he always wore. "Have you given any thought to what you'll say next?" Danny asked, gripping the steering wheel, his brow furrowed in concentration. Emma sighed. "I have to meet with the town council next week. This isn't over. But are you ready?" His question echoed her uncertainty. She looked out at the splattering rain, thoughts swirling. "I have to be. For everyone." As Danny drove, her eyes settled on the flickering lights of the avenue. Each one represented a person, their stories tangled in a web of fear and hope. The weight of what she might be exposing frustrated her, but in the face of that turmoil, a deep resolve bloomed. When they arrived at her home, the lights were dim. She felt a heavy weight settle around her shoulders. Her father would be disappointed. She couldn't help but think how much easier it would be to just retreat into the shadows and let Hawthorne continue his reign of power. But what about the voices of those who stayed silent? What about the truth? With every ounce of courage, Emma opened the front door. She stepped into the familiar hallway, the framed photos of her family staring back, the laughter of her childhood echoing within the walls. Everything felt both comforting and suffocating. "This is it," she whispered to herself, stepping into the uncertain battleground of her family's legacy. What awaited her in the living room? Would her father's response be full of anger or understanding? Emma braced herself as she moved forward, each footfall a reminder that she was committed to this fight. Yet, in that moment, a single thought echoed louder than the rest. Could she truly expose the truth without sealing the fate of those she loved? Just as she reached the doorway, the quiet was shattered by the phone's ring, and with it, a new wave of potential danger loomed. Who was calling? What news awaited her? Emma hesitated as the phone rang, a sharp sound piercing through her growing anxiety. It felt like a warning bell, echoing through the silent house. She steadied her breath and picked up the receiver, her heart racing as she pressed it to her ear. "Hello?" A familiar voice washed over her like a sudden wave of reassurance. "Emma, it's Ray." Her mentor's voice cracked slightly, but there was urgency there, a spark of awareness. "Listen, I just heard about your speech. It's making waves already. You need to meet with me. Now." "Meet? Where?" She stammered, her mind a whirlwind. She wasn't sure of anything anymore. "The diner. 5 minutes," he said before hanging up. "Danny," she called out, turning to her friend who waited in the doorway, clearly unsure how to bridge the silence that lingered after her call. "Yeah?" he prompted, concern deepening in his eyes. "I have to go meet Ray." "At the diner," she replied, already slipping on her jacket. She felt a mix of dread and surge of adrenaline at the thought of meeting him. "Will you come with me?" Danny's face lit momentarily, his expression shifting quickly to serious. "Of course. Just let me grab my things." While he dashed to fetch his coat, Emma peered outside. The rain continued to fall heavily, washing the streets clean but clouding her thoughts. She thought of what Ray had meant by waves. What if she was diving into deeper waters than she intended? Within moments, Danny joined her as they stepped back into the downpour, splashing through puddles as they ran to the diner. The familiar neon lights flickered like promises, casting a warm glow that felt oddly comforting amidst the chaos that churned inside her. As soon as they entered, the din of conversation enveloped them. It smelled of brewed coffee and grilled sandwiches, a stark contrast to the storm brewing outside. Ray was already seated in a booth, his expression serious but welcoming. "Emma, Danny," he greeted, gesturing for them to sit. The urgency floating in the air intensified as she slid into the seat across from him. "You've stirred something here, Emma. People are ready for change, but it's dangerous." "Dangerous how?" Danny asked, skepticism lacing his tone as he eyed Ray. Ray leaned in closer, lowering his voice. "Hawthorne isn't just a local politician. He's a powerful man who doesn't take threats lightly. If you go against him, there will be repercussions not just for you, but for your family." Emma's heart sank. The clouds of fear she'd hoped to dissipate were closing in once more. "What do you mean? What will he do?" "I don't know, but you'll need allies. We have to push forward, but you need to be strategic." He reached across the table and placed a hand over hers. "This isn't just about revealing the truth anymore. It's about survival." Survival. The word sent chills down her spine. She had never wanted to be at the center of something like this. Yet here she was, standing on the brink of a revolution. So what do we do? Emma's voice trembled. Ray nodded thoughtfully. You've got to build a coalition. Stand strong together. Talk to the people you trust, the ones who will stand behind you, no matter what Hawthorne does. And you need to be prepared for pushback. Danny shifted in his seat, his brow furrowed with worry. What if those allies aren't there when we need them? They stayed silent, the weight of that reality settling on their shoulders like the rain pouring outside. I can't do this alone, Emma said finally, her voice barely a whisper. Ray's eyes softened. You won't have to. You'll have all of us, but it will be up to you to ignite that trust. That's where it begins. But just as Emma began to feel a flicker of hope, they were interrupted by loud laughter and shouts from a nearby booth. Emma turned just in time to see a group of locals' friends from school, familiar faces leaning back in their seats, carefree, oblivious to the storm both outside and in Emma's life. Suddenly, she realized it wasn't just a battle against Hawthorne. It was about reaching those friends and pulling together the support she desperately needed. Ray, can we invite some of them? She suggested, her voice stronger, her heart racing. Maybe they would want to join. Yes, he nodded with renewed enthusiasm. The more voices, the better. Let us harness that sense of community. But just then, the diner's door swung open with a crash. A figure entered, drenched and wild-eyed. Emma's breath caught as she recognized him, her pulse racing with an anxious curiosity. What could this unexpected arrival mean for their plans? Could this person contribute to her cause, or would they just add to the growing storm? The figure shook raindrops from their hair, the water cascading like pearls off a necklace, before striding toward Emma's booth. It was Tom, a classmate whose smiles and easy humor had layers she had only begun to see. His usual laid-back demeanor was replaced by a fire she'd never witnessed before. Emma, he shouted over the chatter, his voice slicing through the noise. I need to talk to you. Right now? Emma shot a glance at Ray, his brow furrowed with concern. What is going on? She asked, her heart now thudding hard against her ribs. Please, Tom pleaded, urgency lacing his tone. It's important. As he plopped down next to her, Danny shot Emma a quizzical look. Should we? He started, but Emma waved him off. She could sense Tom was about to unleash something significant. I just found out about your speech and what you're planning. I know some things about Hawthorne. Tom's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Things that could help you. Emma felt the weight of anticipation pressing down on her. Help how? He has connections everywhere, Tom said, glancing around to ensure no one else was eavesdropping. I overheard a conversation at my dad's office. Hawthorne is planning something big. Something that could destroy lives, and it sounds like it's connected to your speech. Ray leaned closer, his eyes keenly focused on Tom. What do you mean, destroy lives? He's going after anyone who stands in his way. I heard he's got dirt on a few of your supporters. He's ready to play hardball. Tom shifted, visibly agitated. But if you could use that against him, breath caught in Emma's throat. An idea began to blossom, one that felt both treacherous and thrilling. We need to find evidence. Something concrete that will sway public opinion. If we can get enough support, Danny interjected, his voice low but firm. But more than that, we need to keep ourselves safe too. If he's going after people, we can't just charge in blindly. The conversation swirled around them, trapped between the storm outside and the pressure building at their booth. Emma felt torn, excited about the possibility, yet terrified of the implications. But how do we find the proof, Tom? We can strategize, but Emma's words faltered, the uncertainty of it all clouding her mind. I can help with that. My dad doesn't trust Hawthorne, but has the company connections we could use. Tom leaned closer, speaking as if every word was a sacred secret. We just need to be careful. I can set up a meeting, but you have to promise to stay low-key. Emma nodded, the fire of determination igniting in her chest. If we can expose him, bring light to what he's doing, Ray intervened, his tone commanding. You need to be ready for the fallout. Taking Hawthorne down means making yourself vulnerable. Before Emma could respond, another wave of laughter erupted from the nearby booth, pulling her gaze away. The carefree faces of her peers reminded her of the community she was fighting for. The stark contrast between their ignorance and her reality was never clearer. There's got to be a way to unite them, she murmured, her mind racing with possibilities. Not just with information, but with inspiration. If they could see. Suddenly, the diner's door creaked open again, drawing everyone's attention. The joy faded as an unsettling figure filled the doorway, Hawthorne's assistant, a sly smirk playing on his lips. Emma felt her stomach drop. What was he doing here? "I've come to deliver a message," he announced, his gaze sweeping the room before landing on Emma. Hawthorne doesn't take lightly to threats. Emma's heart raced. The game had just shifted, and she could feel the stakes rising. Whatever this message was, it would change everything. Could she stand her ground, or was she diving deeper into a storm she couldn't control? The mood in the diner changed instantly. Conversations dropped to whispers, and a thick tension settled heavily over the booth. Emma's pulse thundered in her ears, drowning out the murmurings around her. She could feel Ray's eyes on her, filled with worry, while Danny straightened in his seat, ready to protect her if necessary. "Hawthorne says he's watching you," the assistant continued, his words dripping with disdain. "You think you're safe hiding behind that speech of yours? He can ruin you, your friends, your family, all of them." Emma's skin prickled at his threats. She was suddenly acutely aware that her voice, the very tool she planned to use against him, now felt like a target painted on her back. "Why should I listen to you?" She shot back, trying to summon confidence. "You're just his errand boy." A flicker of irritation crossed the assistant's expression. He shifted his weight, crossing his arms defiantly. "You won't find any allies if you keep poking the bear. Just remember, the only way to survive in this game is to play it smart." His smirk twisted into something more sinister as he turned on his heel, striding toward the exit. The door swung shut behind him, leaving a suffocating silence in his wake. "What the hell was that?" Danny broke the silence, his voice barely above a whisper. "Who does he think he is?" Ray clenched his fists. "We can't let him intimidate us. We need to focus, Emma." Emma took a deep breath, leaning her elbows on the table, her mind racing. What if he's right? What if we are in over our heads? Tom leaned forward, his intensity unwavering. "Hawthorne is counting on you being afraid. We can't back down now, not when we're onto something big." She felt their stares weighing on her, a mixture of trust and expectation. Deep down, she knew what she had to do. "We need to gather more evidence. If he's as powerful as he seems, we need to play our cards right." "Let us brainstorm," Ray suggested. "The meeting Tom mentioned. When do we set it up?" Tom shrugged, glancing toward the window where the rain drizzled down the glass. "Tomorrow. My dad is in a meeting all day, but I can sneak away in the afternoon. I'll call you, Emma. Make sure you're ready." Emma's stomach twisted with unease, but the determination to push back against Hawthorne's threats fueled her resolve. "We're not just going to fight with information anymore. We're going to rally the community. They need to know what's at stake." Danny nodded, a small flicker of hope in his eyes. "Let us create a plan. We can use social media, connect with the people Hawthorne is targeting. It's time they hear the truth." Emma felt a rush of excitement at the idea. "Yes, we can organize a meeting, invite everyone, share the real story. We need to make them see what is happening." As plans started to form around her, Emma felt the weight slowly lift, replaced by a burgeoning determination. She could make a difference, but the shadow of Hawthorne loomed large. Then her phone buzzed. The screen lit up, revealing an anonymous message: "Stop your efforts now, or face the consequences." Her heart sank, realizing that they were not safe anymore. They were stepping into a battlefield. "Guys, I think we just poked the bear, and he's not going to lie down quietly." With every heartbeat echoing in her ears, Emma knew this wasn't just about a speech anymore. It was a fight for their lives. Could she truly rise to the challenge? Or would this be the moment their resolve crumbled? "Tomorrow is going to reveal everything," Emma whispered, her mind racing through the risks. "We need to prepare for anything." And as she stared out into the stormy night, she wondered what the next day would bring. The storm was just beginning, and she was about to step into the eye of it. Morning broke with a sense of urgency clinging to the air. Emma stared out the window, watching the clouds compete with the sun for dominance. The humid air felt thick with possibilities, but it did nothing to ease the knot in her stomach. "Are you ready?" Ray's voice broke her concentration. He stood by the door, his brow furrowed with concern. Danny and Tom shuffled behind him, their expressions painted with determination and a hint of apprehension. Emma nodded slowly, her mind replaying the anonymous message. "We have to stay alert. I don't want to give Hawthorne the upper hand." They moved quickly, gathering at the park where the community meeting was set to take place. Each step felt heavier than the last, as if gravity itself conspired to hold them back. It was here, amidst the rustle of leaves and distant chatter, that everything would change. Tom pulled out a flyer he had whipped up, a bright sign that screamed for attention. Here, this is what we'll distribute. We have to make our voices heard. His passion was infectious, but Emma could see the flickers of doubt in his eyes. They busily passed out flyers, their energy electric as they engaged with passers-by. This isn't just about Emma. It's about all of us, Danny proclaimed enthusiastically, swallowing his fear. A small crowd began to gather, drawn in by the urgency embedded in their words. Emma watched the faces of those who lingered, some familiar and some not. She saw the worries etched on their skin, the same troubles that plagued her as a waitress fighting against a powerful force. It was like looking in a mirror. She felt the urgency amplify with each conversation. As the crowd grew, so did the weight of expectation. It's now or never, she whispered to herself. Standing in front of the gathering, she felt her heart race. With a determined breath, Emma stepped up. Thanks for coming, everyone. I wish I could say today is just another meeting, but we're facing something much bigger. She locked eyes with Ray, who offered a hopeful grin, bolstering her wavering confidence. We've learned that Hawthorne is watching us, she hesitated, the seriousness of her words settling in. He's trying to silence us, to intimidate us into submission. But we can't back down. Not anymore. A murmur rippled through the crowd, the unease palpable. But what can we do? Someone called out from the back. We need your voice, she implored. This isn't just my fight, this is our fight. Together, we can expose the truth. Emma's words ignited a flicker of resolve in the crowd. They needed that spark igniting their rage against the injustice, and for the first time, she felt like they just might have a chance. But then a familiar luxury car pulled up, sleek and ominous against the modest backdrop of the park. The engine purred, and her pulse quickened. She recognized the silhouette in the passenger seat, Hawthorne's assistant, his smirk as menacing as ever. I can't believe you actually think you can pull this off, he shouted, stepping out of the car with exaggerated bravado. This isn't a game. You're in way over your heads. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, and she could feel the growing doubt emerge. Just as she was about to respond, another sound filled the air, a thunderous roar that drowned out the assistant's taunts. People gasped, shielding their eyes as a helicopter descended from the sky. Confusion gripped everyone as it landed a short distance away. The rotor blades kicked up dust and leaf litter, creating a chaotic whirlwind of excitement and anticipation. Emma squinted against the wind, and her breath caught in her throat. The helicopter door swung open, revealing a figure stepping onto the ground. It was her father, beaming with pride, the last person she expected to see. Emma, he called, waving enthusiastically. But as she stared, a chilling realization crept in. What was he doing here? Did he know about the impending danger? Was this a gift from him to save her? Or a distraction from the battle they were facing with Hawthorne? With her heart racing, Emma stood frozen, caught between relief and fear. In the middle of chaos, her resolve wavered as she pondered the implications of her father's unexpected arrival. What would it mean for their fight, for her family, for everything? The moment hung in the air like a question mark, and her mind spun with uncertainty. What was about to unfold next? Emma's heart hammered as she locked eyes with her father, disbelief washing over her like a tide. The crowd around her was a blur, their murmurs a distant hum compared to the surge of emotions coursing through her. Dad, she called, her voice shaky but cutting through the chaos. His wide smile faltered as he approached, concern flickering in his eyes. What are you doing here? She pressed, stepping closer. The thrumming helicopter blades created a harsh soundtrack, drowning out any semblance of normalcy. He paused, glancing back at the crowd, the admiration in their eyes mixing with uncertainty. I came to support you. I heard about everything, the threats, the intimidation. The pride in his tone was unmistakable, but quickly softened to worry. I had to be here. Emma wanted to pull him into a hug, to feel the familiar security of her father's embrace, but her mind raced with questions. Do you know what we're up against? Is this safe? Before he could respond, Hawthorne's assistant laughed, a piercing sound that cut through the heartfelt reunion. How quaint. You think a helicopter makes you a hero? This is a joke. His disdain dripped from every word. Emma felt a wave of anger rise within her. This isn't a joke. We are standing against you and your corruption. Enough. Her father interjected sharply, his voice resonating with authority. He turned to the crowd, his demeanor shifting. Listen, I may not be the person you think I am. I've made mistakes in the past, but I'm here now. For all of you. She could see the collective breath the crowd took, a mix of hope and hesitation. Her father was a successful businessman, but that success had often felt distant from her struggles. Now, standing next to her, he seemed more human. Let us show them we're not afraid, he said, his voice rising in fervor, capturing the attention of everyone present. It starts with one voice, then many. Look where we are. This isn't just your fight, Emma. This is everyone's fight. We can't let them intimidate us. The crowd began to nod, murmurs of yes rising like an anthem. Emma felt the momentum shift. She glanced at Ray and saw his pride mirrored in his expression. But then her gaze fell back to Hawthorne's assistant, who stood with crossed arms, a smug grin plastered on his face. The tensions felt thicker as he mustered a contemptuous chuckle. You honestly think that pep talk will change anything? You have no idea who you're dealing with. I know exactly who I'm dealing with. She shot back, her heart igniting with defiance. You think you can silence us? You think we'll back down because of threats? You've underestimated us. With each word, the crowd's resolve solidified. They were no longer just spectators. They'd become a force fueled by shared experiences, by a determination to reclaim their voices. Then her father stepped forward, the change in his stance notable. Emma, I have connections. I can help you gather more support. But we need to act now. Hawthorne won't stop until we do. The thought sent shivers down her spine. What had her father gotten himself into? And what did they stand to lose? The stakes were impossibly high. As the murmurs of the crowd began to build into a chant of solidarity, Emma felt the exhilaration wash over her. Could this be the turning point? Without warning, a shout erupted from the back, drawing everyone's attention. What is happening at City Hall? A voice called out, laced with urgency. Emma's heart sank. What do you mean? She asked, fear creeping into her voice. An elderly woman stepped forward, her face pale, yet determined. They're planning a vote against our community rights. If we don't act now, it might be too late. Panic flared in Emma's chest. We have to go, then. We can't let them do this. With renewed urgency, she looked towards her father and the crowd. They were at a crossroad, action needing to follow these gathered sentiments. Let us go, she commanded, ready to lead, her resolve reinvigorated. But even as they began to move, Emma wondered, would they arrive in time? Would they be able to turn the tide? The energy crackled around them, anticipation thick in the air as they raced into uncertainty. What awaited them at City Hall could change everything yet again. Would they finally gather enough support to rise against Hawthorne, or was this just the beginning of an even larger battle? Emma could feel the adrenaline coursing through her veins as they sprinted towards City Hall. Her father by her side, each step echoed with the weight of their mission. 1,000 thoughts raced through her mind if they would really succeed, or if this was the last stand against Hawthorne and his corruption. The streets felt alive, buzzing with urgency, as more people joined their group. The elderly woman who had spoken earlier led the way, her small frame brimming with determination. Emma could see others had taken notice, their faces a mix of confusion and curiosity. They needed to get the word out. What if they're already voting? Emma asked, panic creeping into her voice. She glanced at her father, who was scanning the crowd, readying to rally even more support. Focus, Emma, he said, squeezing her shoulder briefly. We need to stay united. Just keep that fire in your belly. Right. We're not done, yet not by a long shot. As they approached City Hall, the imposing building loomed ahead. Its grandeur felt like a fortress, but today it would be a battleground for the rights of their community. Emma's heart raced. She could hear loud voices drifting through the air as they drew closer. Suddenly, Ray pushed through the crowd to reach her. Emma, I found out more about the voting. They're voting now, but there's a chance we can delay it. If we make enough noise, they might have to listen. She could see the determination in his eyes and felt hope spark anew. Then let's give them a reason to listen, she said, raising her voice. This isn't just about us. It's about everyone who's ever felt silenced. If we don't fight for our rights, who will? Ray nodded and turned to the group behind them. Let us make them hear us. We need to shout louder than ever before. They stood together, hand in hand, as an impromptu chant began to form. Our rights. Our voices. We want to be silenced. The energy shifted, growing stronger with every repetition. Emma felt the crowd gather behind them, merging into a powerful wave of determination. As they approached the grand steps of City Hall, the first elected officials streamed out, glancing nervously at the gathering crowd. Hawthorne's smirk from earlier flashed in her mind, and she wanted nothing more than to wipe it off his face. The doors swung open, and the mayor emerged, flanked by security. He raised a hand, hoping to calm the crowd. "What is the meaning of this?" he shouted, but was drowned out by the collective voices of the people. Emma stepped forward, knowing this was her moment. "You're about to make a decision that affects the lives of everyone here. We won't let you take away our rights without a fight." The crowd erupted in cheers, emboldened by her words. As she looked into the faces around her, she felt an overwhelming sense of unity. It wasn't just her fight anymore, it was theirs. But just as the chant reached its peak, Hawthorne's assistant cut through the crowd, a sneer on his face. "This is pointless. Do you really think you can change the decision from outside?" His voice dripped with mockery. Emma's resolve hardened. "If you think we're giving up, think again. Stand with us or stand aside because the tide is turning." The jeers became a wall of noise, drowning out any attempt at intimidation. The mayor looked uncertain, the energy was palpable, and even the guards shifted, unsure of their next move. As Emma took a breath, ready to escalate the battle for their community rights, she received a message from Ray's phone. "We might have insider help," he whispered excitedly. "People are calling in favors." Her chest tightened, excitement mixed with trepidation. "Who?" "Trust me. But first, we need to keep the pressure on." Emma looked at her father, who nodded, pride etched in his features. This was their moment. They could not waver. But as they prepared to push harder, a deafening explosion shook the streets behind them, and the crowd gasped. What had just happened? Emma turned around in horror, fearing the worst. The stakes had escalated in a way she had never anticipated. Was this the end of their fight, or merely the beginning of something much larger? The dust settled, and the crowd froze in disbelief. The booming explosion echoed in their ears, and Emma's heart raced as fear gripped her. She turned, scanning the scene, her mind racing with thoughts of those she loved, of the community that stood behind her. "Stay together," she shouted, her voice cutting through the panic that ensued. Her father's steady presence held her ground as they moved towards the source of the noise. Emma's heart sank as she spotted a police vehicle, its windows shattered, possibly set off by the pressure of something explosive planted nearby. "What just happened?" Danny shouted over the chaos, his eyes wide with shock. "I don't know," Emma yelled back, adrenaline surging through her as she clutched the hem of her father's shirt, feeling the need to tether herself in the face of the unknown. "But we can't let fear stop us." Just then, the mayor stepped forward, flanked by frantic police officers keen to maintain order. "Everyone, please, return to your homes," he ordered, but his voice was drowned in the swell of anger from the crowd. "No, we're not going anywhere," Emma shouted, stepping forward defiantly. The eyes of her neighbors bore into her, their trust hanging on her words. "This is our town. We will not be silenced any longer." The cry rippled through the throng, reigniting the fire she had sparked earlier. Even amidst confusion, her resolve burned brightly. "Emma's right," her father boomed, stepping onto a low wall to elevate his stance. "We're not going to let a cowardly act tear us apart. We stand united, and this is just proof we're threatening the status quo." Around her, murmurs of agreement flared, gaining energy. People surged toward the steps of City Hall to join Emma and her father. The assistant eyed them, anxiety creeping into his voice. "You want to play this game? My boss has eyes everywhere. You don't know what hell you've just stirred. Then let him come." Emma shouted back, her heart thundering as she felt the crowd's determination rise. "Let everyone see that we're not afraid." The world spun in a blur of sirens and shouts, mixed with a growing sense of purpose. Emma turned to Ray, who was intensely focused on his phone, and whispered, "What's the plan?" Ray looked up, his brow furrowed. "We need to document everything. This isn't just a protest, it's movement. We'll record the realities, the threats, the stories, everything." "Right?" Emma nodded, her heart racing as she turned to the crowd again. "We need to show them everything going on here. Get your phones out. We need to go live." The air crackled with anticipation, and as individuals began to pull out their devices, excitement blossomed. The chants resumed, louder now, filled with renewed conviction. Together we stand. No one will fall. Emma gathered her breath, raising her phone high. We're all here today to fight for something bigger than ourselves. She spoke into the camera, grounding herself in the moment. It's about justice, truth, and our rights. The people here deserve to be heard. Applause broke out, and with every cheer, hope dripped its way back into Emma's veins. She turned back toward her father and shouted to be heard above the rising voices. We need to keep pushing. Rally everyone behind us. Show them we won't back down. Fueled by urgency and raw energy, she led the charge, storming through the crowd, past the police barriers, and towards City Hall's massive doors. Today wasn't just about speaking out. It was about showing that their unity could not be destroyed. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again. Ray had a live feed running. They could broadcast the crowd to the world. We need to show everyone the threats we are up against. He motioned to Emma, who rushed to his side as they pushed through the barricades. It was now or never, a moment forever etched into the community's history. Listen up. Emma's voice rang out powerfully as her heart thudded in her chest. This isn't just a town issue. This is happening everywhere. Corporations crush voices like ours because they think we won't fight back. But we are here, united, and they can't silence us. Her words echoed through the air, gathering strength. In that instant, the truth appeared to shimmer bright and clear. Their voices could overcome intimidation. As applause and cheers erupted, she felt within her the seeds of change taking root. Yet, just as promises of hope illuminated their path, a sense of danger loomed like dark clouds. The meeting behind those City Hall doors was determined to push against them, but filled her with fierce resolve. They could not be beaten. Her father's hand brushed against hers, grounding her as they squeezed through the crowd. Whatever it takes, Emma. With fire sparking behind her eyes, she nodded fiercely. Together, let us make our stand. Their resolve swirled through the air, calling forth a wave of energy that sent shockwaves resonating through every soul present. In that moment, they realized they were no longer waiting for answers. They were creating their answers, fighting for their voices, amplified by community strength. Emma looked around, her heart swelling with pride as the crowd roared. Whatever this moment unfolded into, she knew one thing for certain. They would not back down. They were ready to go to battle for what they believed in. And just like that, the storm was more than just a metaphor. It was an awakening, blooming with possibility and the promise that change was finally on its way. As they gathered in the shadow of City Hall, the ground beneath them felt sturdy. There was no turning back now. Emma's insistent heart pulsed louder than the thunder rumbling above. Let us go, she urged, and together they surged toward the future, this time, ready to take it on their terms. You need to subscribe now to our channel if you want to keep up with these incredible stories that shape our world. Leave a like now to fuel this momentum and let the algorithm work its magic on sharing our journey. Comment below your thoughts on this transformation and everything Emma and the community have fought for. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to know that they can also rise against the odds. Don't wait, not even one more second, to support this channel. Only true fans understand the impact of your actions. Let your voice be heard.